In a New York park, Alexander and Emma are happily strolling and discussing their future, their plans together, when Alexander proposes to her. She happily accepts. At that moment, they are approached by a thug who robs them at gunpoint, demanding all their belongings, including the ring Alexander had just given to his fiancée. She is very sad and distressed by this and refuses to give up the engagement ring, starting to fight against the scoundrel, with the bad luck that the weapon accidentally goes off, killing Emma almost instantly. The devastated man is Dr. Alexander, a professor at a university who teaches applied mechanics and engineering. For years have passed since the terrible event, and now Alexander is at home, working every day on his algorithmic project, trying to mathematically decipher how to travel through time in order to prevent the death of his beloved Emma. Alexander manages to travel through time and arrives precisely on the night he got engaged to Emma. But this time, he tries to avoid the park and takes a horse-drawn carriage, taking her to another place. She, very confused, accepts Alexander's strange behavior and leaves him alone to go buy some flowers and give them to her. But a terrible accident occurs, and she is crushed by the carriage, killing her once again. Dislocated by what happened, Alexander understands that he cannot prevent the death of his beloved and concludes that he needs to find the answer, but in that era, he would never find it. He travels to the future to find out why he cannot prevent that event. Alexander arrives on May 24, 2030, a date when humans begin to create a colony on the moon. He goes to the New York Public Library and starts talking to the library's artificial intelligence assistant named Box 114, asking about time travel. Box, unable to provide a satisfactory answer, is dismissed by Alexander as a useful source of information. His frustration leads him to decide to go further into the future to seek the answer he so desperately craves. He travels 7 more years into the future and arrives at a destroyed New York due to the failed human colonization of the moon, which was caused by the detonations to build it, affecting the moon's orbit and changing its trajectory towards the Earth. Some police officers, concerned for his well-being, try to take him to a shelter, try to stop him, but he manages to escape to his machine. However, in the scuffle, he hits himself hard, and the machine starts operating, traveling into the future, until he finally wakes up. On July 16, 802701, he is healed and treated for his wounds by a girl named Mara, who belongs to a tribe called the Eloi. They are the survivors after the moon collided with the Earth. He discovers that they live on cliffs by the sea, and these people have devolved, as they now only engage in hunting and gathering plant food, since there are no buildings, roads, or cars, nor anything of civilization as we know it. Alexander also discovers that in this post-apocalyptic civilization there are no elderly people or seniors, and asks Mara why that is. Mara, without going into much detail and without explaining anything at all, tells him that they have simply passed away. Once they arrive at a kind of memorial place for the deceased, Mara takes him to where the time machine is and asks him to please take her brother with him because she doesn't want him to stay in this place. Alexander, troubled by the request, demands explanations, But just at that moment they are attacked by ape-like beings with humanoid appearances and extreme strength, using poison blow darts to capture and subdue the Alloy. Many are captured by these creatures called Morlocks and will serve as food for those horrendous monsters. Mara's brother is hit by a dart, and Alexander helps him escape from his captor. With great effort, he manages to strike the Morlock, but now he has become the target of the unpleasant creature. When he is about to be killed, he is saved by Mara's brother, but the latter is captured and taken underground. Alexander, very indignant about what just happened, confronts all the Eloi, asking them, "Why aren't you doing anything? Why the hell don't you defend yourselves?" Without receiving an answer he can understand, he goes to Kalen, Mara's brother, and asks him if he knows where all the captured people are taken, if anyone has escaped from there. Kalen, frightened, tells him that maybe the ghost can tell him where all the captured people are. In this case, the ghost is the artificial intelligence of the New York Library, Box 114. It explains that two different species have developed, one that lives underground and the other on the surface, but it doesn't know exactly what those who live below feed on, so as not to scare Kalen. He also tells him that many years ago, an Alloy managed to escape the clutches of the Morlocks and that they had many conversations, during which he recounted all the horrors that occurred there, and he also tells him where to find the Morlocks. Alexander manages to enter the depths of the caves where those horrendous and murderous beings live. In that claustrophobic and infernal place, he finds a mountain of Alloy garments as well as many tools for butchering and breaking bones. It is there that it is said that it is very likely that all the people who were captured are already dead. In the midst of this monstrous discovery, he is captured and taken to where this Mara is still alive, and also the telepathic leader is waiting for him. The telepathic leader tells him that without his control over the Morlocks, they would exhaust and eliminate all Alloy. He also indicates that there are other clans similar to his, each governed by a supreme psychic mind. The leader of the Morlocks reveals to him the reason why he cannot change destiny, as he is trapped in a time paradox. Emma's death was the main reason that led him to build the time machine, so he cannot use the machine without her death having occurred, as otherwise, he would not have built the machine. The leader of the telepaths ordered the Morlocks to take the time machine to the caves and told Alexander, almost ordering him, to get out of that place in time. Before leaving, Alexander deceived the leader of the Morlocks and started a fight inside the machine, which was traveling to the future, pushing the pale leader out of the time sphere. At that moment, he sees how he rapidly ages and dies, while still clinging to the time machine. When he manages to stop the machine, he discovers that he is in the year 635,427,810, where the landscape is now a desolate wasteland, completely dominated by the Morlocks, and in which most of the humans cease to exist. Accepting that he will never be able to save Emma, Alexander returns to the year 802,701 to rescue Mara and decides to activate the machine to travel into the future, but this time he doesn't get on it. Instead, he uses his pocket watch to jam the controls. The couple runs to escape the caves full of Morlocks and, with great difficulty, reach the surface. The machine explodes, creating a distortion in time and a shockwave that destroys the Morlocks living in those caverns. Alexander begins a new life with Mara in the future. With the help of Vox, they begin to rebuild human civilization together with the Alloy. Vox tells them the stories stored in its PMC remotely, and Alex shows Mara and Kalen the location where his laboratory was.